The following episode is an interview with my good Canadian friend and returning guest, truth warrior David Whitehead. David will be sharing his views on the trucker convoy and what is really happening in Canada, as opposed to what we're being told through the mainstream media outlets. We discuss the idea of controlled opposition and psy-ops and the bigger picture of what is unfolding. David also talks about his self-produced film series Cult of the Medics, where he lays out the true history of the medical establishment, the corruption of medical education and social engineering, going even back to our ancient history, looking into the genetic modification of humanity and the gods from the skies. Before we start, I'd like to let everyone know that my wife Laura and I start the next round of our 12-week in-depth private group coaching program, Time of Transition Embodied Soul Awakening, on April 11th until July 2nd. In this program, we go deep into the necessary inner work during this time of upheaval, sharing many psycho-spiritual practices, going deep into shadow work and the process of embodiment and soul individuation. We put this inner work in context of the outer work, teaching you about the bigger cosmic forces at work, the matrix control system, occult forces, esoteric evolutionary astrology, universal laws, divine will, and reality creation in light of the evolution of consciousness, and much more. This program and the many tools we share with you will help you to step into your sovereign individual power and creative potential to unlock your deeper purpose for being here during this time of transition. The course is limited to 40 people and enrollment has already started. At the time of this recording, we are about halfway full, so if you're interested in this program, go to my website, veilofreality.com, and look under courses. You can read more about the program there, and if you're interested to join, fill out the application. The link is also posted below in the info section. With that being said, enjoy the show with David Whitehead. All right, welcome everyone to another episode of the Cosmic Matrix Podcast. Today with your host Bernhard Gunther, and I have one of my favorite guests returning once again, David Whitehead from occupied Canada, reporting directly. And I want to just give a shout out to you because, I've been really following your Telegram channel now for a while, and you've been really doing excellent work, following what's happening, very grounded. And also there's a really healthy sense of optimism, which comes through your reporting and all of that. And I really want to thank you for that because that's very much needed with all the craziness out there. So welcome back to the show, David.
Oh, thank you so much, Bernhard. Always a great time to come on and talk with you, and love the work you're doing as well. And I appreciate that. It's pretty intense times, especially in my country, Canada, right now. But it's also incredible times. And I'm just here to remind people that if we want to win this battle, we have to start acting like winners and have a winning mindset and do a balanced approach of always keeping an eye on possibility of things that could be going on, to lay traps and to stop this and to raise false hopes and, put out misinformation. So we need that critical side, right? But that can become over amplified and drown out the truth about the actual positive victories that we are having right now. And there are many. We could talk about a lot of them. And when you're looking at a big battle like this, that's global and that has all these implications, and there's so much at stake, and there's so many elements to it, as you've covered so much as well, Bernhard. We have to keep the big picture in perspective here, and keep willing this win, and not being the other extreme would be pie in the sky. Everything's cool. Don't worry. Sit on your hands. Don't, so there's two extremes. And my goal is, and I'm not perfect at it, but my goal is to, try to keep it in the middle, keep it balanced, and keep people hopeful, because there is actually a lot to be very, very positive about right now.
Exactly. And I actually just wrote an article titled Controlled Opposition and the Truth Movement, where this word or this expression controlled op or psy-op is being thrown around like candy, and everybody is, these people are black-pilled, and the truck convoy is psy-op and all of that. So I want to address that as well, as you hinted at as well. But before we dive into the current events, because I know I've followed you on Telegram as for a while, you've been really on it since the very beginning. Can we just summarize in a nutshell how it all started to where we are now with the truck convoy?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So it started with, in what I know, okay, because so much of this movement happened very grassroots. This for me was one of the most grassroots movements I've ever seen, made up by people that have never been to a protest in their life. Okay. These are truckers, farmers, cowboys, hardworking average Canadians, the blue collar middle class that got absolutely nailed to the wall during this pandemic. Our economy got looted blind. All these business owners and entrepreneurs got totally shut down. Prices of everything went up. So the pressure was building in the background. There were already numerous things that our government in Canada was doing to put heavier taxes and restrictions and red tape around farmers, around these truckers, and just basically be a pain in the butt. So they were already upset with the government on numerous fronts. And then this pandemic happened, and then we've all seen everything that's unfolded. The constant shifting of the goalposts, the empty promises, the misinformation, the flat out lies. Everybody's been watching this. And I think these people, these truckers, they were the people in Canada that just wanted to be left alone. Yeah. And those are the kinds of people, Bernhard, that I recommend everybody just don't ever try to piss these people off. They're not the people to mess with. These are your Rambo type people. Okay. And I'm not talking violence here. I'm talking just strength of will, sheer just work ethic, up at 5 a.m, working 20-hour days. These guys are the hardest working people. They're quiet. They just want to be left alone to raise their families and provide for their families and do their work. And the government pushed, he started poking that hornet's nest. And there was a video that started it off, I believe. Okay, there might be people that have a different opinion, but what I saw was there was a trucker that made a video saying, "Hey guys, this is out of control with these mandates. We should do this." And he kind of laid out his basic, just off the cuff idea of how to, basically get the truckers to shut down everything, because the truckers run this country. And without the truckers in every country, without these truckers going out to those big shipping containers and grabbing all those goods and all the food and all the oil and the gas and the stuff everybody's ordering on Amazon or whatever, without them, we're back to the Middle Ages. All right. So it just took fire. That video went super viral. And then there started to be some organization that was happening. And I have two theories about the organization. One is sort of their own story of, it's just a bunch of truckers. It went viral. We all started doing it. And then we had some central, leadership. And then it just spread like wildfire. It was unstoppable, very organic. Yeah. That's one. The other is that there were military and intelligence people that were involved in setting this up, and they decided to employ a naval warfare strategy of targeting different places at different moments, so that it was the enemy couldn't stop it. There was no way to police it. And maybe that word enemy is a little too dramatic for people. I'm not trying to create enemies here. The enemies of freedom, right? The people that are going to try to shut down peaceful demonstrations, because that's what this thing was. So two different theories there as to how this came to be. Either way, here we are. As soon as it kicks off, 4 million Canadians end up in all over the bridges. They start jumping into the convoy. I've never seen anything like it in Canada, Bernhard, ever. Hockey games, Canada Day, nothing comes even close to the viral nature of this, the speed at which it picked up, the exponential rate of it. And then the beautiful thing of all is who this pissed off the most. Right. And the fact that they were screaming and writhing and panicking. And in that screaming, writhing panic, they've made so many mistakes that all of Canada watched. And now they're waking up, and it's like every day there's new people going, "Oh my God, yeah, they were lying to us. Wow, they lied to me about that. What else are they lying to me about?" And it's just absolutely exploded to the point where there's so much to tell you, but let's go like this. So let me explain what the convoy is, okay? Because there's a lot of people out there. If you're getting your information from any mainstream news outlet, they are flat out lying to you. They're not even just trying to report some news and spin it anymore. It's just creating news, creating stories, and twisting the whole thing. So, and I know the people that I speak to in my circles that are all like, you guys need to denounce the hate and the Nazism and you just go get vaccinated. And I just sit there and I go, just go to one of these places, go downtown on the weekend, go talk to these people. You will never experience, I guarantee you'll never experience more smiles, more hugs, more joy, the best parts of the human spirit. People are out there just celebrating life because we've been locked in gulags for 2 years.
Yeah.
And everybody knows this is a lie. And guess what? There haven't been any major outbreaks. So that's like that. So just think a little bit. So anyways, really quickly, what they want, the truckers said this. It started with the trucker mandates. So the government of Canada and the US government were having these different back and forths about mandating vaccination passports for truckers to cross the border. So in Canada, it was okay for a trucker to go from East Coast to West Coast without a passport. But the minute they go a few feet over the border to pick up some goods and then come back in, they now have to show their papers. And the truckers didn't like that shit, even the ones that got vaccinated. So they said, well, the first wave was, well, as truckers, we should just revolt against this and shut this down so that they give us back our freedom in that regard, right? Everybody should have the freedom to choose. And then it blew up into, hold on a minute, the government is out of control. The courts are doing nothing. The police are doing nothing. The military is doing it. So let's win freedom for everybody. So it became, stop mandates, every single mandate across the board. And then the other demand was that the Trudeau administration resigns in absolute disgrace.
Yeah.
And so that's where it's at. That's what people want. And then what they did was they said, okay, let's do peaceful demonstration. We're going to plug up the roads. Yep. But we're going to allow, they've been interfacing with the paramedic, like all the different ambulance services, the police, to allow passage. Like they planned this out very well. They seem to be 10 steps ahead of the government, which is interesting. But the thing is they asked the government to come and sit down with them and have a discussion. So they have sort of like some convoy representatives, but any trucker would be like, come up to my truck and let's have a conversation about why I have left everything, my family, why I'm sleeping in my truck in Ottawa in -40 weather. And the government, no response, no ambassadors, no discussion. And if there was any, it was very much like, well, we're not going to talk to you until you're all vaccinated, like that kind of stuff. So the truckers said, well, fine, we're staying here. Then the next phase was, let's get the medical health leadership. So Health Canada, Dr. Theresa Tam, and whoever, like anybody, Adrian Dix, any of these people, to come and sit in front of the Canadian people and have a scientific discussion with three of the top medical experts in Canada. And we also had Dr. Alexander come in, who's an internationally recognized world expert on this stuff. He actually even worked in the Trump administration for a period of time with the World Health Organization. So he knows this data better than anybody. And so we said, come and sit down and have a very civil, peaceful discussion where the government can, for the first time, present their science, the science that everybody needs to know about, right? Because if you're going to make these kinds of mandates that these truckers are now parked on your front lawn to protest against on behalf of every Canadian, you better have a pretty damn good scientific argument to make,
right?
Because you keep saying about. So we said, then come clear this all up in a peaceful way. And if you can come and trounce these scientists and answer our questions, we'll go home. It's as simple as that. This could have been over in the beginning. But what does Trudeau do? He walks out of Parliament question period 4 times in a row. So in the last 3 weeks, he's walked out, which means he's walking away from the elected people that have all these questions for him from, whatever. And he walked out of Parliament question period. And then he comes in and he announces something called the Emergencies Act, which to me is the height of a loss. This is panic and desperation like you couldn't believe. You need the Emergency Powers Act to shut down all the bouncy castles and all the pancake breakfasts and all the love and unity and celebration and peaceful demonstration. There's been no acts of violence. Any act of violence was committed by people who were pissed off at the truckers and started throwing rocks at their trucks and eggs and doing that kind of stuff. There was no violence from our side whatsoever. And that right to peaceful assembly is protected under Section 2 of our charter, which is our Constitution. Mm-hmm. So the government is currently in breach of numerous national and international laws. Of course, you know that. All the governments are right now. Yeah. But after Trudeau, just instead of sitting down to have a discussion, I've been saying, Trudeau, go sit down with these guys around a fire, have a hot dog, have some hot apple cider. They'll give you a massage. There's even a hot sauna right there. It's awesome. Go have a discussion with these guys. That's what a leader would do. Yes. That's what I would do. I'd be like, oh, there's a bunch of people. Like, it's really big. It's the biggest national event in human history. Like, I better go talk to these people and clear it up. But he didn't do that. He doubled down. He broke more Canadian laws and he used force. He sent militarized police to rush peaceful protesters made up of men, women, and children. Yeah. And so that is the act of a tyrant, a coward, a criminal, and a traitor. Yeah. And I'm not using those words facetiously. They are very literal. They are very real. And I even have the exact specific laws that are being broken. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going off here, Bernhard. Yeah. But that's great.
Thank you for the time. And before we go deep into this Emergency Act and Trudeau, and also, by the way, you conveniently got COVID the weekend. The trucks appeared in Ottawa.
Oh my God!
Whatever. He's I want to talk about him shortly, but I just want to reiterate what you said, because I've also followed, obviously, just videos many you posted, many others I've been aware of on Telegram and whatnot. Right. And it was so beautiful to see, because you're right, Canada, all the Canadians who usually have the image of being more passive, kind, let's not get into any conflict, don't step and let's not say anything controversial. And it started this grassroots, but then seeing this convoy driving through the country in all these overpasses, people cheering like families, I got goosebumps watching it. It was amazing. Like, people really standing up, from a very grounded, loving place. And this unity was just beautiful to observe, right? And it's fascinating how I think it's CBC, the mainstream media outlet, that spins it and kind of calls them white supremacists, and they want their privilege and Nazis and fringe minority. And it's the complete opposite, right? So it's really fascinating to see. And it was really extremely, how can I say, inspiring, right? To see the people rise up. And you said, don't fuck with the people who want to be left alone. That's the number one rule. It's so true.
That's right.
So, what's also interesting to note that, not, from what I understand, that not one single Western leader has spoken out against Trudeau at all, right? So that's another red flag. Obviously, his connection, we can talk about this, to Klaus Schwab, the World Economic Forum, and the young leaders groomed by Schwab and all of that. Right. Yeah. But, so you're right. What also I wanted to mention what you just said, it's very interesting. Yes, it started as a grassroots, but I'm very impressed. It seems very, very extremely well organized, like you said, right? It's really there 10 steps ahead, and they know exactly, and they're holding the line. They're not getting intimidated. They're not taking the bait, right? Because I'm sure they're agent provocateurs trying to initiate violence. And they showed this one white Nazi flag that was planted. I think it was even the picture taken by the photographer of Trudeau or something like that. I don't know. Yep. So all of that, they're trying to spin it, right? But now, yes, Trudeau has pulled very interesting, this Emergency Act. Right. And then, from my understanding, the last time was pulled was World War II, which Laura, my wife, can relate to. Her family side, her dad's side, is Japanese. And the last time the Emergency Act was pulled in Canada was when the Japanese population was put into internment camps and the businesses were taken away from them and destroyed. So Trudeau is now bringing that in, which is a complete overreaction. And obviously panic and desperation. And the mistake he's obviously making, he's doubling down, right? Playing the dictator. I mean, what I don't understand personally, what people don't use the word which I think should be used at this point. He's a psychopath, right? On that very basic level, he has no conscience. You cannot talk reason to him. He's a dictator. Who's completely lost his mind, no conscience. And even when you listen to him, he's like, nobody is there. He's just trying to keep to his script. And there's no way, no sense talking into him. So with the Emergency Act, Because he just he announced it, but it still needs to go through Parliament. Is that correct? To be really approved, so to speak?
Yeah, that's right. Like, this isn't Venezuela, Trudeau. This isn't China. You can't just enact this kind of thing. We have something called the parliamentary democratic process, where you have to go through the gauntlet of all of our MPs. Now, a lot of them it's a massive swamp over there in Ottawa, and there's also a lot of them that don't have a spine. But there are those that are pushing back against him on the conservative side. And even on his own team, he's got, I think now 4 liberals on his own cabinet have come out against what he's doing. So there's dissension in the ranks, and he's just trying to hold the power, which is why this needed to happen. And Canada needs to watch this. Whatever happens out of this, however hard it is, this is part of waking people up to just how bad this is and who exactly Trudeau is. And you're right. Trudeau's doubling down. He's a psychopath for sure. I bet you he was groomed in those elite families that he grew up in to be put in these kinds of positions. As you know, that's how these networks operate. They groom and raise their own so that they're programmed and they're perfect for the positions that they're going to be put into. So he's a puppet who he can't concede. He cannot. First of all, he's in contractual agreements with universities and all kinds of pharmaceutical companies regarding these vaccines. He has a personal stake in how many vaccines are purchased using Canadian tax dollars. So that's why he's purchased 13 shots per Canadian citizen worth to come in. So if anybody thinks, I got my booster, that's the end of it. It ain't at the end of it. He's purchased 12, and they want to make this probably a shot you're going to have to get every month or every 3 months. And we know this is all about the digital passport and the ID system, right? Yeah. And it goes further up. And that's what's amazing, Bernhard. I'm seeing little old ladies out there in these protests with signs talking about the universal income and the universal surveillance and all that, and Bill Gates and the WEF and Klaus Schwab. And I'm like, wow. So our work has not been in vain to wake people up to these things. They're turning off the news, the fake, corrupt, shill media that is owned and bought by governments and private corporations. People are turning that off, and they're turning on shows like ours, and they're following Telegram channels, and they're learning themselves. And they're watching. What they're doing is they're becoming citizen journalists, which is what we've been advocating for since the beginning. Yes. If we want the truth, we're not going to get it from the government and from Vanguard and BlackRock. We're going to get it by going on the road, going down to these things and looking at it for ourselves and learning the truth. And then we record it, and then we send it out to the world. So no matter how much the media wants to stage Nazi flags and whatever, and I've had friends on the ground since day one, not a single one has seen any of that stuff. Yeah. They're there there's Eskimos down there from the Yukon. There's First Nations doing demonstrations there. There's Sikh truck drivers there. There's African Americans there. There's the Quebecois are there. The French are there. Every different type of person. The Mennonites are there, for crying out loud. Every type of human being is there fighting for freedom. And for Trudeau to come out in the beginning and start this off by saying, well, all these people are racist, misogynists, and all this stuff. Yeah. We know he's being told how to deal with this. Yeah. And it's also mixed with his own personal megalomaniacal nature. But he's going back and he's getting the red phone call that's telling him how to deal with this. And if he's talking to people in China or Davos, they're encouraging him to move Canada into a Chinese-style militarized police surveillance state system. And everybody can see it. And that's what needs to happen. We've often talked, Bernhard, about the precipice, the idea of the precipice that humanity needs to reach in order to awaken. And we've all had it in our personal lives. Like I had it many years ago. So did yourself. There's been many of us that we hit the precipice a long time ago and we woke up. And now here we are. And now people are reaching that precipice every second of every day because of many, many different things that are happening. The pressure of all this, the side effects from the shots, the side effects from the government policies, et cetera, are just waking people up. Yeah. And so I've been grateful for this event, Bernhard, as much as it gives me stress and anxiety like you wouldn't believe, because my whole country, my future's at stake. Look who I am. I'd be the first one they're going to come round up, okay? So if my show stops, you'll know what's happened. And I'm not suicidal. I love my life. I'm going to live to be over 100. You watch. But anyways, they are cracking down in a way that is proving who they really are. Yeah. Canadians that were like, oh no, you guys are just conspiracy. They would never do that. Well, every time they've said they will never do that, the government goes and does it. Yes, and now they're like, oh shit. Yeah. And that wakes more people up. So I think this is only the beginning. Man.
Exactly. I want to also point out that also the people who are waking up are also vaccinated people. People who have gone along with it. People who have gotten the shots. They're like, I'm sick of it. This is ridiculous. I support the truckers at this point. We know here in Arizona, we know a few Canadians, some older people here that come here, escaping the winter from Canada. They are vaxxed, they've gone along, but I had to chat with them. Like, they full on support the truckers. They don't want to like get a PCR test, a swab again, and get the booster. We're done with it. This is ridiculous. So it's very important to understand this is not just the anti-vaxxed, agenda and whatnot. This is like people standing up for freedom, period. Right? And even the truckers might understand it's not like they're anti-vaxxed. It's just, have freedom of choice. That's really what it comes down to, right? And also I want to point out, thank you for sharing that, David, what's happening in Ottawa and all of that, but it seems to be all over Canada. I've seen there's been great protests in Victoria as well, right? People rising up, standing up.
Oh yeah, and I live on Vancouver Island, right? And this is the place that people move to avoid the rest of the world and escape reality. Like, they come out here to start, fishing and surfing and living their lives out in some hut somewhere. And they don't want to be involved in this stuff. And when I went down, I've gone 3 weekends in a row. It's incredible. I'm in my truck and I hook up with like a few hundred people from my area, and we do this long drive into the main city, Victoria. And as we're going, we're hooking up with different convoy groups of people that are coming from all over the island. And then we're all driving into Victoria together in this massive stream. We're like, I just see Canadian flags all in front of me, Canadian flags at the back. In the overpasses, there's people waving Canadian flags. It's like driving in an armada. Like, you're just like, dun, 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 like you're just coming right in. And then we're honking. And then you get into the city. So the rural areas on the island are totally different. Most people don't care about the masks. Most people just want to be left alone. Most people don't watch the news, so they're not brainwashed. The more you get into the city, everybody's got 3 masks on outside by themselves, it's insane. So you get a mix of honks, and you also get a lot of people flipping you off and like seething rage and anger like I've never seen in my life. The only hate is coming from the people that hate the fact that we're fighting back against the government and we're fighting for our rights and freedoms. That's where the hate is coming from. There's no hate from we're just smiling and flashing.
I saw that. I saw some disturbing sides from the counter protest, gas the unvaccinated. You're becoming like that, what you project onto the others, right?
They are projection. It's projection. It's like everything, I'm so glad I followed the political trend in America for the last 6 years. I'm really glad. I learned so much because America got hit with these tactics first. Mm-hmm. Canada had been using them, but a little more subtle. And then when this happened, immediately, you know what the headlines were? Oh, they're getting funding from American Trumpers that are going to stage another January 6th insurrection. So then the CBC knew, they're like, they're insurrectionists.
Insurrectionists.
And I'm like, have you ever heard of an insurrection that has bouncy castles and SpongeBob SquarePants walking around downtown for the kids? Like, come on, it's a party, is what it is.
They even said like the Russians started it.
The Russians started it. Like on the alternative side, I've got some critiques. The paranoia that you were talking about how everybody's like, I call it psy-op porn. It's like everything's a psy-op.
Yes,
I think the psy-ops are the psy-op, and so I'm sure there's psy-ops, but the psy-op is what the media is trying to do. Okay. Yeah. And I was open to the fact that, hey, this could be some kind of trap and everything. You have to be aware of all options. Right.
Yeah.
But when I experienced what I did and what I saw all over the country, it's the whole country came out. Like, let's put something in perspective. Okay. For just real facts here. In Canada, we recently had another election that got Trudeau in for a second or third or I don't know how many times. Yeah. Just reminding my American friends that we don't have a system where you only have a 4-year term and there's only 2 major parties that you can vote for. Mm-hmm. We have like 100 parties you can vote for, and we can call an election or a referendum anytime we want, right? It's a totally different game. Sometimes politicians will even call for elections as a strategy to keep power and maybe go, because you can get what's called a minority government. and then you can try to achieve a majority government where your side has control of the House and all that. So Trudeau got, out of all Canadians, Trudeau got 20% of Canada to vote for him. I think it was like 21 point something percent voted for Trudeau in the last election. That means 80% of Canadians either spoiled their vote or voted for a different party. So they voted against the Trudeau government.
Yeah.
So how does it happen? And officially he's on record as having a minority government. Okay.
Interesting.
So it just has to do with the fact that we don't have an electoral college system where we can actually, really count that discrepancy and go, oh, wait a minute, 80% of the country doesn't want Trudeau. Like if we had an electoral college, more of a republic situation, we wouldn't have had this problem. But so they don't even need to rig elections that much here, although I even think there are some very interesting discrepancies. They just need to manipulate an already flawed voting system. And that's what they did. So Trudeau's comments about the fringe minority. Well, Trudeau got 20% of Canadians to vote for him, most of which now regret their decision. So he's probably down to like 8%, right?
Yeah.
I'm just throwing numbers, but it's got to be lower than half.
Yeah.
And that means he's in the fringe minority and the people that support him. And then when it comes to unacceptable views, well, his views are the unacceptable views, and I can even prove it because they're in total violation of the supreme law of this country, which is the Canadian Charter of Rights. And they're even opposed to international human rights codes like the Nuremberg, the Geneva, the CPPR, the UN, the International War Crimes Acts, etc. They're in violation of all of it. And also he keeps talking about a democracy, and I want to hear from Canadians, but he won't have a conversation and he won't send his best scientific champions to answer the call and show their science. So that's not how this works. So I don't know if I answered your question there, but that's kind of where we're at. We're at a standoff with an absolute tyrant.
No, thank you for sharing the political system and setup in Canada. I wasn't aware of that. It's important to understand. But I want to now address a little bit what you just mentioned. We just talked briefly about, because I know, for people who don't know, you've been on this truth-seeking path for many, many years. You know what's up. You know it's beyond the politicians. You know there's secret societies. There's the occult. You know your work with Michael Tessarian on Enslaved. You know the different levels, right? Right. But also nothing is black and white. But I really want to address, because as I mentioned, I wrote this article, Controlled Opposition in the Truth Movement, the idea of psy-ops. We all know there are psy-ops. There's counterintelligence programs, CONTELPRO, controlled opposition. It's definitely reality. But nowadays, these terms, especially over the past 2 years, as more people got quote-unquote red-pilled, are being thrown around like candy. Everybody, I don't agree with this, is basically controlled op or psy-op, right? Even with the trucker convoy, right? Yes, there needs to be some skepticism. These kind of movements can easily be hijacked, like agent provocateurs, right? Get them into violent actions and all of that. We know that. But I want to address that because there's some people say that the trucker convoy is definitely controlled op, because then that's how they will blame the supply chain shortages. And apparently, I have no verification for that. The trucker convoy is sponsored by Soros and all of that. What do you make of this? Because I see what I like about you, what we've talked about this many times before, is the necessity, what you call, to unite the clans, right? In the quote unquote truth movement. We can disagree in many different ways, but there's something bigger. And just because somebody, I've been called controlled op because I have certain views that doesn't agree with others. You're same too. There's so much this, I call it the red-pilled truther community glued on the computer screen and caught in this black and white thinking, right? But we need to have more nuanced, subtle view, right? So what do you say about all these accusations that the trucker convoy is sponsored by Soros and will use to justify the supply chain shortages and all that?
It makes me laugh and cry in a way, because I donated to the trucker convoy, and I know tons of people that did. There was people in the US that donated because they believe in it as well. We had some very wealthy people in Canada donate a lot of money, and so people saying George Soros financed it. Why would he wake Canada up? That doesn't just think through what you're saying. Yeah. It's the stupidest argument you could ever come up with. It's like, okay, they're going to finance this to stop the food supply chains that they were already working on stopping, because we know Bill Gates and Amazon and all these companies are buying farmland up everywhere, and they're going to create a controlled demolition of the economy, which will immediately impact everybody's jobs. They're giving people toxic bioweapons out in the millions, which are causing people to have conditions where they can no longer do their jobs. So then that way there's less people working in their jobs, which is going to affect the supply chain. The whole goal is to affect the supply chain. The trucker convoy knows that. They're saying, we're going to stop the supply chain for the government, and we're going to shut this country down ourselves because we know you're doing that anyways. Right? That's the difference. And so this was kind of like what I had about everybody saying Q was a psyop and all these people are psyops. I'm like, really? Like, why would you have something that is going to encourage people with the spirit of freedom, critical thinking, think for yourself, research for yourself, and with this trucker convoy, it's a psyop. But why would you inflame all the Canadians that are now awake and waking up everybody because of this, and provide the perfect? This seems like a psyop to encourage an awakening, not a further shutdown or a further. This doesn't feel globalist to me. This feels completely anti-globalist, and the message is very strong. We're trying to use. Also, you got to sit back, and I ask every single one of the people that say this is a psyop, that's a psyop. What's your solution? What do you want us to do? Seriously. I think you guys have too many fantasies of like Mel Gibson running through the forest with a musket.
Yeah, everything is a trap. We can't get out.
I think that's just paranoia. I think people are smoking copious amounts of drugs, and then they're applying that logic to this, and their paranoia is what's coming through, and their own inner anxiety that they haven't addressed is what's pouring through it. Exactly. So while they might be really, really good at diagnosing the problem, you're out of luck when it comes to going, okay, sit down and tell us a better idea. Here's the mic. Crickets. And that's when I know they're full of shit. Because if you're coming out to say, now there's a difference between that. Let me just say this difference between that and somebody coming with a very loving, just warning, just to say, hey guys, I'm concerned about you. Be aware that these traps could happen. Be aware that this could be something that they could take advantage of or infiltrate or whatever. But to paint the whole thing with a brush of it's totally a setup, it's all planned, everybody that's a part of it is an agent working for the government. It's like, I'm sure the government agents are getting put in there, but that I'm looking at millions of my countrymen from every background that are in agreement with the fact that the government has way overstepped their bounds and they want their freedom back. Why would you inflame that? Now, somebody could say, well, they want to make everybody an easy target. They want to identify everybody. They want to, but that's your paranoia running away.
Yeah, that's a paranoia. That's how the Matrix gets you, actually, because you have silent, I cannot speak up because then otherwise they will get to me. You know what I mean? That's a psyop, your own paranoid. That's what even my article talked about. Like you mentioned, they're not engaged in any sincere self. They project their own shadow. They're caught in the mind, the peanut gallery of conspiracy theorists out there, but who never put really work out on their own or put themselves out there. There's this hype also based on baseless assumptions. There's no concrete evidence, right?
That's right.
At all. And again, we're not saying that these movements can be hijacked. We know how it works, but it's not that black and white. It's more nuanced, similar of cube. Most people have, that's a whole other topic of.
I didn't want to pull that rabbit.
Exactly.
It's just, it's the way, and it could even be. But it's the way people have these knee-jerk reactions to things.
Yes.
And one thing I'll say is, okay, we're at war. Welcome to the war of the world. This is for all the marbles. I don't know if anybody can fully appreciate what we're up against if we lose this. We can't lose. Losing will equal your death. Yeah. I don't know how to emphasize that. So if you're sitting there being a keyboard warrior and have all these brilliant critiques in the comments without asking for bringing solutions forward, you got to start asking yourself, what were you doing while crimes against humanity were happening all around you? Yeah, that was actually the question that was posed to everybody before being convicted at the Nuremberg trials, by the way. And do you know about people that were actually prosecuted under crimes against humanity, and they didn't kill a person themselves? They were even against the Nazi ideology in Germany, and yet they were still tried and convicted for crimes against humanity. You know why? Because there's a code in international law as a result of what took place that states that if you are somebody that is in a position of authority or influence and you sit on your hands while crimes against humanity are happening, or all you're doing is just shooting arrows at the same side that's trying to free itself, you're guilty of international war crimes and you will be tried under the law. Okay. So I'm telling everybody, tread softly right now, because justice is coming and it's going to be lawful justice. We are operating under the law. And anybody that's wanting to shoot arrows at our own side, you got to ask yourself, why are you doing that? Are you doing it out of concern? I think the psy-op is all of this stuff telling everybody it's a psy-op so that humanity can't actually believe that something good and organic and real is happening in the world. Yeah. That's what they want. They want fear out there. Any fear will do, Bernhard. It doesn't matter if you're afraid of COVID or if you're afraid of the government crackdowns or the Illuminati and infiltrating everything. Fear is what they feed off of at the top. Yes. And if they can keep you in fear, they can keep you under control. So I go, all right, you're in a fight. Welcome to the fight. If we are in an army of people and we walk up to face an invading force that's going to come and destroy us all, and I tell the troops, hey guys, we're going to go and stop this enemy that's coming in. Are you with me? And I start hearing a bunch of yakkos in the front line going, well, but Dave, the minute we start shooting our arrows at them and throwing our spears, they're going to shoot arrows back at us. Oh my God. We should all just pack up and not fight back. That's how I see these people. Little man syndrome, scared little children, arrested development. They're going to do it. They're going to psy-op everything. They're going to try to hijack the whole thing. George Soros is going to fund Antifa to come and start a bunch of shit and make us look bad. Yep, that's what's going to happen. Yeah. Are you done? You finished your rant? Okay, can we go back to fighting this now? Are you going to go hide under your bed because of that? Or are you going to stand up like a real warrior and fight the odds even if they're against you? That's how freedom was won in the past. Yes. Let me remind you, less than 3% of the American male population fought the British Empire off and at least won their freedom for a day. Less than, 300 Spartans, right? Battle of Thermopylae, 7 samurai. It's always been few that have gone up and won freedom for everybody else. And guess what? Not only do people like us have to fight the enemy, we got to fight all the coat draggers along the way that are trying to pull us back because they're living in deep-seated anxiety and fear. Yeah. So master your fear and you'll win your freedom. But don't get in the way of the people that have already mastered their fear and are ready to do what's necessary to win it back for you and for us. Stay out of the way. Stay home. We got a lot of horse stables that need cleaning. We got a lot of people gardening. Go find your role, but leave the warriors alone. Right. Let us do what we do best.
Yes.
Sorry, I had to get off.
No, that's awesome. So, thank you so much, David. We're very well said, and I wholeheartedly agree. Because you and I, we've been in this game, quote unquote, for a long time. We understand there are different battles, different levels to fight on. There's art of war, right? Yes. And it's not. And I can put the mirror on myself. Maybe in the past, I've also easily overly judged as a psy-op this and that. But I now got caught in my own mind, my own paranoia, and as you know, there's a lot of bullshit in the mainstream media, obviously, but there's a lot of bullshit in the fringe conspiracy world out there as well. So we need to apply, quote unquote, critical thinking, discernment there as well, especially nowadays in this information warfare. You literally can get sucked into the rabbit hole and get stuck in dead ends. And, that's how the Matrix has you, like Neil Kramer called that, getting caught in the second Matrix, in the paranoia of your own mind, right? Where everything is a trap. And that's the real side. That's how the Matrix has you, while you think you're all pointing all the traps, and also understanding that the Matrix, so to speak, what happened, can never be figured out intellectually. And you know my work. I'm also a big emphasis on the inner work. Check your shadows, check your own triggers, your shadow, and all of that. Know yourself, know thyself, and know thy enemy. Then you know what to do in light of art of war, right?
So, and if I could just say real quick, Bernhard, see, I trust someone like you to go down the rabbit hole of seeing if it's a psy-op because, I know you've got the maturity and the experience to go into it, research it, entertain it for a little while, and then maybe find that it's hollow and come back and say, you know what, I looked into it. I thought maybe there was something to it, but it looks like it's just another red herring. Like exactly. There's nothing wrong. Do you know how much information we're getting hit with every nanosecond right now? Especially people like us who are doing this for a living, trying to share be the media. We get information coming from all angles, and we kind of have to investigate it. And we got to see, does it look like there's evidence? Whatever, and then tell the public. So the media will never be this honest. The media will never go and chase a rabbit and then come back and say, oh, it looks like we were wrong. It's actually this. Like, that's not honest. That's honesty. That's part of being a detective. You actually, what's the apophatic method of learning the truth? It's elimination of the untrue so that the truth is revealed. So I've done it too. We all go down these things and we may still be making mistakes. But the thing is, you have to stand as an individual. I think what's happened is everybody has become collectivists. And by collectivists, I'm not just talking on a political level. I'm talking psychologically, where we paint everybody with a general brush, right? So we don't look at people as individuals. Yeah, maybe let's try this. Okay, George Soros had this brilliant idea to get truckers to drive and park in Ottawa and wake Canada up in a way that it's never been woken up before. It's this brilliant idea to somehow further enslave Canadian people by showing them what freedom looks like. Anyways, so let's say he funded it from the beginning. Well, guess what? What a stupid idea that was. Yeah. Now you got cowboys for freedom. You got farmers for freedom. You got bikers for freedom. You got mariners for freedom. I've even seen convoys of moose walking towards Ottawa. So there's moose for freedom now. Like you started a chain of reaction in a natural environment where there's all kinds of different variables that I don't care how many looking glass technologies you've got or how many, crystal balls you think you're looking at in these witch covens. You can't predict the future because the future doesn't exist because time is a concept of our mind. It's not even a real thing. And so we create reality. We determine it. Right now, I'm going to do this interview with you, Bernhard, and then I have a choice. Am I going to finish up my work for the day and be productive and play with my kids and be a good father? Or am I going to go drink myself to sleep on my couch and watch Netflix? I get to choose what's going to happen next. But I could have someone come and say, Dave's planning a personal psy-op to drink himself to sleep and watch Netflix. Okay, but I still get the choice at the end of the day. Yeah. So I believe in free will. I believe in an individual. I'm not a collectivist. And also, never forget that an enemy can plan an attack that as a martial artist, I know can be used against them. Exactly. So even if they planned a psy-op, we just used some Aikido and redirected the attack right back in their face. Now it's blowing up in front of their face. And it's cool.
Exactly. You made a good point.
Celebrate the win, man.
You make an excellent point because real psyops, they have to reveal a part of themselves. The moment an enemy attacks you, the enemy exposes himself right away. Right? So that's how a war works. And just to reiterate what you said, we talked about this in a previous podcast together as well. In this field we're in, seeking truth, right? And all of that and waking people up, we understand that seeking truth is a process. So you're right, we entertain all these ideas. Or it could be a psyop, like I have it all there, right? As a possibility. I don't attach to anything, I eliminate, and this could be this, let's see where it goes. Because, what's happening nowadays in the so-called Rebel Truth movement, a lot of people claim to know exactly what's going on. Right? This superficial black and white thinking, not even seeing the bigger picture, even like in light what I talk much about the evolution of consciousness, right? With the bigger cycles of the ages, there's something much bigger happening beyond even the 3D matrix and all of that. To really consider this, and you're right, the future's not set in stone. That's also, I've gotten rid of this prediction business, right? Yes, be aware. I always say, know their enemy, be aware of the agenda. These are evil mother effers, right? They have an evil plan for humanity, depopulation, all of this, communist, technocratic, fascist, world government and all of that. Be aware of the agenda. It doesn't mean that they're going to get through with it. Right? That's right. That's the difference. So you don't want to feed it with this fear and, this is trapped, there's no way out and all of it. No, there is, right? Because you beautifully mentioned out the underlying frequency of the matrix is fear and negativity and just all of this, right? And we need to have more quote unquote objective mind. But none of us are completely objective because none of us are enlightened.
Remember that movie, The Matrix, where he says to Neo, right before the big jump scene. It's my favorite scene because there's so many metaphors in there where he's saying, you've got to let it all go, Neo. Fear, doubt, and disbelief. What's he saying disbelief about? He's talking about personal disbelief, doubting yourself, disbelieving that there is, you can create what you want in this world, and that the matrix is there to prevent you from creating what you want. It's there to put you in a mold where you're in a hamster maze, and that's how they want you. But the freedom has to start in the mind. So regardless of if every physical 3D thing that's happening in the world is a perfect way to resist this tyranny or not, none of it's going to matter for nothing if we don't win the battle in our minds that says, I do have the power to co-create this reality. Yes. I am the author of my own life and my destiny. They could turn the whole world into a gulag and I can still be a free, sovereign human being. Yes. And that's the truth. If we live like that, we won't even need truckers to park on the road. The whole world will stop complying with tyranny, lies, and deception, and will wake up. And that's what we're trying to do. And if this trucker convoy helps that, which I can tell you from my own eyes watching it, it has. I grew up in this country. Okay. I was born and raised in Alberta. Then I lived in Ontario and Saskatchewan. I've been coast to coast many times. I got family all over the place. I love this country. Canada is also a massive country with a small population. And so we're very far away from each other. So it's easy to have division in that kind of a country. I have never seen a unifying event like this. I've never seen Albertans arm in arm with Quebecers. I've never seen First Nations hugging like police officers. It's just, it's amazing to see. And it's been magical. Do you know numerous police officers are resigning right now?
Yeah, I've heard. It's amazing.
Yeah, the mayor of Ottawa is resigning. The police chief is resigning. Like there's a lot of people stepping down. There's more doctors come. This has emboldened more whistleblowers to come out, more lawyers to start getting active, because all you had to do was put a flag in the ground and say, who's with me? Holy crap, did Canada answer the call? And not only in Canada, Bernhard, they're going to start doing convoys in the States. They're doing convoys all over Europe right now.
In Israel even.
Lit everybody up.
Yeah. It's beautiful. It's amazing. So, wow. That's incredible. Yeah, exactly. So it's also, there's something to be said. Yeah, people can easily fall maybe into hopium, which kind of happened, with other ideas. But there's something to be said. That's why I say about healthy optimism, right? To keep the lighthouse burning, the fire burning, right? And then the battles, it's the ascent and descent. There will be defeat, battles here, but we want to win the war, right? And there's a war on it's literally a war on multidimensional levels. So we see it on one level and there are many other levels, right? And you cannot separate anything. So speaking of that, I'm interested in your view. So right now, something interesting is happening because of what happened in Canada. Also, more and more countries are letting go of the mandates. Even the vax passports happened in England and so forth. So this is great news, right? But, is there maybe a healthy suspicion like, okay, what are they planning next? Because they're not just going to give up and like, oh, here's all your freedom back. So there's what do you see next coming in this whole agenda?
Well, I think they were hoping for like a seamless process of going from the vax passport to basically the Great Reset and the ID, the digital ID, ID 2020, just go to id2020.org and learn that. So they were looking for a seamless process into that, but because of the resistance, and not just with the truckers, I mean, people look at France, they've been out every week for months, protesting all over the world. And so they're like, okay, they know that they have to reel back. Yeah. And then
they certainly did not expect for the population to rise up.
They did not. I will tell you this. They didn't expect the 2008 housing market crash. They didn't expect what else would it? They didn't expect a lot of the movements that happened in 2012. They didn't expect Trump. They didn't expect a lot of stuff, and they didn't expect this level of resistance to all this stuff. Yeah. And so when they get caught off guard, what they do, we know their playbook. Okay, what these because these are Fabians, these are communists, these are Satanists, these are people that they have little man. They're not true alpha, they're not true masculine, they're not truly strong, empowered people, because they're operating in a lie, a personal lie, and that's why they're attracted to those ideas. And so they use the slow march to the institutions, the attack, pull back, the passive aggressive strategy. That's very much part of this Illuminati stuff. It's the passive aggressiveness. And so they go, let's try this. Oh, okay, guys, too much. Pull it back. Come underneath. Do something else. But we know this. We've got, everybody knows this now. So this is what they're going to do. They're going to pull back on the pandemic and they're going to swap it for a new crisis. Now, I thought for a while they're going to start switching back to the climate thing, but it's really not working very well. And I think they were actually failing on that particular threat prior to COVID, which is why they switched to COVID. I think they switched because the climate thing is so dead in the water. There's so much science against it. They're still going to push it, but I don't know if that's going to be their play overall. I think they're trying to make this thing with Ukraine and Russia seem way bigger than it is. So there's a psy-op for everybody to go look at. Yeah. They're going to try something else, I think, because that's what you do. You got to swap the hysteria. So if the hysteria is dying down and people are seeing through the lie of COVID, then you've got to distract them. So I'm expecting something big to happen, a big false flag, a big event, a Cuban Missile Crisis thing. Something big is going to happen that's going to distract the world from COVID while they're mopping that mess up. Okay. Yeah. Now they also know that everybody now pretty much has HIV. Okay. And
I was going to mention that's how they're going to pull all the vax quote unquote injuries and autoimmune disorders, right?
That's it. They're going to say, look, it's mutated. You're seeing it in the media right now. You know, they're normalizing heart attacks in children. There's now pediatric cardiovascular wards that have just been set up. Nurses have told me about that. Never existed before. And because there's just that, and they're expecting that many cardiac issues with children. And because they know the data, these people know what they're doing. Yeah. And then they know that there's a lot of how many people have taken these jabs. You know, Luc Montagnier sadly passed away after telling everybody to go get tested for HIV. And I don't know if it's 100% of the shots. I don't know if there's just a certain amount. Nobody knows, but we've got the reports already of this blood clotting, heart problems, and HIV. HIV, what is that? That's the destruction of your immune system.
Autoimmune, exactly. That's what
autoimmune deficiency. So, and what did Gert Vandenbosch tell everybody? We were going to see immune escape around the world. It's just a different word for the same thing. That's all HIV ever was. Yeah. It's all cancer. We're seeing uprise in cancer as well. Because cancer is your body just imploding in on itself because there's nothing holding it up anymore. Yeah. And these shots are destroying your immune system. So now you're vulnerable to literally billions of different viruses and all kinds of problems. Yeah. So, you know, they knew what they were doing with this. We're all praying that we can win the freedom back and then get the real truth out there about what's going on with Fauci, the NIH, the CDC, the WHO, et cetera. And that this was a soft kill attack on the world, a bioweapon attack. And that's not facetious at all. Like that, the actual ingredients in this shot are deemed by the international courts as being the ingredients of bioweapon warfare. So
that's a true bioweapon. Exactly. I mean,
and it's in the shots, right? Exactly. We don't know about the virus. That's another thing. It's something that's pathogenic was flying around. I caught it. My whole family caught it, but we beat it easy, right? Like we have strong immune systems. We didn't need any of that other stuff, but they suppressed solutions, they suppressed known cures, and instead told you to wait into your bed until they have a vaccine that's now killing people. So I think they need to start stepping away from the optics of the evidence that's coming out that this was a planned genocide attack, right?
Exactly.
And so they need to, if we were to do nothing, then that's what they would do. They would just kind of phase that in and try to say, oh, look, now HIV is contagious, right? Something like that. And that's why, heart attacks you can get heart attacks, Bernhard, from fluffing your pillows too hard. That's why everybody's dropping dead of heart attack. They're fluffing their pillows too hard. You know, they're working those soccer players too hard in the training camps, those 19-year-olds that are in the best shape of their life and they're in better shape than like war horses. They're just working them too hard in training. That's why they're all dropping in the pitch, right? Exactly. Never seen that. So it's like they're trying those things, but those are failing. So what I'm saying is we're backing a tiger up into the corner. Okay. Yeah. And when you back the tiger up in the corner or the bully up in the corner, you better be able to survive their biggest swipe, which is coming. And
but they're also going to make mistakes.
You win.
They're going to make mistakes at the same time because they are desperate and panicking.
100% they are. And so because we're on to them. So this is what I'm trying to tell people. Don't worry about psy-ops and what they're going to do next. Just get it through your head that you're right. We know the playbook. We know what they're going to do. Expect it. We're at war. Let's fight back. Do you want to fight back or do you want to just go out on your knees? So expect that they're going to do more false flags. Expect that they're going to try to manipulate this. But as they do it, a good martial artist is waiting for opportunities in the chaos. That's what Sun Tzu said. He said, in war, in the middle of the chaos, there's also opportunity. Yeah. And that's what I specialize in, is teaching people how to see opportunity while under duress, while being grabbed in a headlock, while being punched in the face, while being someone on top of you smacking you around. How do you survive that? You either curl up in a ball and just take it, or you look for opportunities to escape, improve your position. So that's warfare, and that's what we're doing. So how about you join us in the fight, and let's take this home, because if we lose this, humanity as we know it is over. Freedom as we know it is over. Life as we know it is over. These people are terraforming this planet. They are going to they are looking to vastly reduce the numbers of the human population. There's all kinds of documentation on that. I could do a whole 10 hours on it. And they are looking to also alchemically alter the human species to be more congruent with the technology that they want to bring in. That's your transhumanism.
Yeah.
And this has been an age-old thing. This is what I'm proving out in Cult of the Medics, the actual process of altering humanity over the past 100 years. Yeah. So, we have a big fight ahead of us, but I'm the kind of person, I'm either going out on my shield or I'm coming home on it. And I hope you'll join me, because this is for all the marbles.
Yeah, beautiful said. This is the time to be on the right side of the history. To speak up, stand up, do it all. You know what I mean? I know from the work I do with my wife at the courses we are hosting, we have a new one coming up in April 11th, Time of Transition Embodied Soul Awakening, where we combine in and outer work. People are going through a lot. So we need to fight, but take care of your inner life, right? A warrior needs to be strong within, right? Be calm, because a lot of what's happening, a lot of stuff coming up, their own trauma, shadow, we need to conquer also the enemy within, to be grounded, to be strong and face the enemy, so to speak, within and without. And it's very important, and not to ever give into fear. Now is the time, as you said, to speak out, stand up, and do what's right. And ultimately, it's not rocket science. It's about following conscience. That's really what it comes down to, right? Now, we are at the end of the first hour, but before we take a break, I really want to get in the second hour into your amazing documentary series, Cult of the Medics. Right. And really dive deeper also into, want to ask you about this whole idea of the virus and all of that, and a lot of things I want to talk about, which I also not necessarily will be able to talk about in the first hour without being censored and all of that. But for people letting know, first of all, where can people find you and your documentary, and where can they follow you?
Thanks for that. Yeah. If you go right now to cultofthemedics.com, there's even a Telegram channel as well. You can find there, Cult of the Medics. But if you go to cultofthemedics.com, the first half of this series, the first 6 chapters, I'm planning 12 chapters. The first 6 chapters are available for free for anybody to watch on multiple alternative platforms, and even download the MP4 and save it and watch it for yourself. And what it is it's an exploration into the occult history of the medical industrial complex in a way like you've never heard before. So I'm basically operating as like a DJ in this series, where I'm remixing different ideas, different pieces of film and interviews and ideas and music and concepts, and, a bit of light and dark, a little bit of all kinds of stuff, to hopefully recruit the watcher to help me in uncovering this thesis. Because this thesis is so big that I'm dropping on everybody in this, that I don't even know how to contain it all. And I even need help with continuing to research it, because I have a feeling this is far bigger than we ever possibly even imagined. So cultofthemedics.com, you can get caught up there. And I'll be doing the second half, probably starting in March. Sorry, I'm currently busy fighting for my freedom in Canada, but when things settle down, I'll get back onto it, and we'll do the second half.
No, I'm amazed. Like I've watched it. You've done amazing work, because you've done it all yourself, right? Like,
I've written, incredible. Directed, produced, edited. It's 100 hours of editing for every chapter. It takes my whole body and soul and mind. So it's a lot of work, but it's a labor of love. I really enjoy it.
Yeah. So let's dive deeper. So definitely everybody check that out. We go deeper into that and talk about this more in the second hour. For anybody who is not a member yet, you can sign up at veilofreality.com, get access to all the second hours. And a little announcement too, my wife Laura and I have another installment of our 12-week in-depth program, Time of Transition Embodied Soul Awakening, starting April 11th until July 2nd. Maximum 40 spots available. And there's still some spots available by application. Go to my website to check that out. It's a really in-depth course in inner and outer work for the times we're in right now, to really embody the spiritual warrior, which we really need in this day and age. And with that being said, see you guys shortly in the second hour. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Bernhard.